So in the lesson before, we just talked about loudness, the peak versus the RMS values and, the general premix. So what we need to do always with, while making the track is, of course, leveling. So using gain, like right there, using gain to actually make our sounds sit better, as good as we can while we're making the idea, so that the idea comes through better, so that we know what to do next. So it helps us in creation. Of course, another thing we can do, and which I didn't do here at all in this track, is, let's say, panning. So you can hear that much more of, let's say, in rock and roll, that the entire drum kit that you hear is actually panned, left and right. So the hi-hat that would actually be on your right side would be actually louder on the right speaker, and same thing for the ones on the left. And so for the toms too, they would usually, those three toms you have for, all the breaks, all the drum fills, would actually pan from left to right, going for the highest tom, let's say, all the way on the right, and then the lower one, the middle one in the middle, and then the lowest one all the way on the left. So you would do that and create a kind of you would actually create some space for the speakers to actually produce the sound better. So to demonstrate that, what we're doing when we're mixing a song is we are trying to make all of those elements sit well together, so that the mechanical reproducer of the sound, the actual speaker, could produce our entire song, could play it out with as much clarity as possible. This is what we as mixing engineers do, so trying to put everything together so that we could hear everything nicely. Well, one way that you can remedy that from the entire beginning is, let's say, having one sound only on the left and the other sound only on the right, and then the same speaker does not have to play both of those, especially if it's, let's say, the sound that plays at the same time, like these claps right here. So both of those play on both speakers. Of course, they are stereo sounds. But what we could do is, use panning to pan one more to the left and one more to the right. And in such a way, by doing that, one of the speakers is actually going to produce much more of the sound of this clap, and the other one much more of this one. Meaning that one speaker does not have to reproduce both of those in the same amount, making it easier for the speaker, the producer of sound, to actually give us the sound we are playing. And by the way, it will also make your track sound more spacious. But let's go through all of these hats, let's say, like this. So let's say I pull one of the hats to the left, and some other one. I'll pull another one of those hats to the right. And let's say for this synth percussions right here, as I have all of those percussions right there sliced up, as you see from this loop. Well, what I could do is go on and do this. See? Left and right, pan this, and I could do that hard left and right panning like this for each one of those small samples. So let's do that. Right, left, right, left, right. And I'm going to do that for the entire loop that I have right there. So it's going to go right, left, right, left. So it means that if this loop was playing in the order that it was in, and it is in the MIDI, if you remember, we just chopped it up. And every one of those hits is going to play hard left and hard right, just like this. Meaning that both of the speakers don't have to play the sound at the same time. So for that brief moment, when one of those is played only on one of the speakers, the other one has the freedom to produce a different sound more clearly, because it doesn't have to deal with producing this sound as well. And it's going to sound something like this. So we are dividing this entire, image of sound left and right. Now we can pull this ride a little bit to the right, pull this synth percussion bit to the left. And if we do that, enough with all of the components and not just this, let's say these sounds, these two accompany sounds. I'll make this one louder a bit. So this one is already playing a tiny bit more to the left, so I will pull this one to the right a bit. Nice. So I'm dividing sounds between the left and right speaker, and we will talk more about this when we get to the mixing phase. But it's also important to do a part of this, rough part of this in the very beginning. So what else did we have in all of these instruments? I remember one like this one that was layered with 3 synths, just like this. Let's hear that one solo. So what I could do with this one is actually we have this one main sound. So I will keep this in my mind as the main one of them because I like this one the most. And these two, I will pan left and right. Now I'm doing all of this as you see, like hard left and hard right, all the way left, all the way right. I don't have to. I could do it just a tad bit. Just a tiny bit, like, and even 20 is not a tiny bit, but let's say just a tiny bit, like this. And that will, aside of making your sound more stereo, more lush, more wide, your sound more open, it will also make it easier for the sound reproduction, systems, your speakers, to actually produce the sound easier because they don't have to deal with so many sounds on one actual membrane, one actual tweeter, whatnot. So this also gives you, let's say the song is going to sound, wider and fuller. So let's try that out. Let's hear what it sounds like now after all of this is done. So hopefully you can compare this to the version of the song that you heard without all of this. But still, this really frees up the mix and has each one of your ears listening to different sounds, makes it easier for the sound reproducer, I said speakers or headphones, to produce the sound with more quality. Plus, it diverts your attention left and right. So it's, something for your brain to work with, and it makes the sound more interesting. It makes your whole song and the mix more interesting if you employ a technique just like this one. Now, what you've seen here so far is me doing all of these things really extremely, going all the way left, all the way right. You don't really have to do that. A tiny bit to the left, tiny bit to the right makes a difference. We will deal with such detailed, movements once we get to the mixing course.